Personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With a unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. On a personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With a unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. On a personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With a unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. On a personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With a unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. on a personal note as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
Me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. On a personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
Me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. On a personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
Me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left. And it's okay, you found your way. On a personal note, as I was counseling the two of you.
Bethany Ann Doak. Ian Donnelly. Kirsty Lynn Duthitt.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere will bring us wireless emergency alerts. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
I've come up with a family emergency plan.
What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
Me too.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You were supposed to make a right, but you made a left.
Good morning. Wow, I did it now. Good evening, Mr. Sharp and Ms. LaFaw. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thank you for asking.
Listen,
Good to hear everyone is in good spirits.
yeah, we all thought it was morning time. Or at least I did. Morning too. Rachel there? Rachel?
Good evening.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. You?
Awesome. All right. Is everybody ready? Because we do have 6 o'clock. Doug said yes. I like that yes. All right. Exactly, right? Good evening, everybody. All right, this is the September 12th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We will have Commissioner Irving do the invocation and Commissioner Yoakum do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
And especially, Lord, we just lift up those wonderful first responders in New York, lost their lives to help save others. Just a special group of people. And we always want to keep them in our hearts. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner LaFaw?
Here.
Commissioner Yoakum?
Here.
Vice Chair Sharp?
Here.
Chair Huggins?
Here.
Commissioner Irving? Here. Commissioner Frank?
Here.
Commissioner Robertson?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, we've got call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker card and submit it to the chairman prior to the start of the meeting. The procedure to follow is if you address commissions are commission requests that you express your ideas in 5 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks or derogatory statements about any city employee, a fellow citizen, or anyone else, whether in the attendance or not. The chairman will limit discussion whenever she deems such an action appropriate to the proper conduct of the meeting. And I do have a speaker card for DRP 2209, and I noticed that it is not a public hearing, but we'll go ahead and hold off on this until that, unless you'd like to come up now. And this is for Nate. You want to speak now, or you want to wait till that item? All right. This is perfect. This is exactly the right way. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hold this until we get to that here in a minute. And then if your questions don't get answered during the presentation, then we will go ahead and let you speak on that. Welcome, sir. All right, moving on. Minutes. Approval of the minutes from the August 22nd Planning and Zoning Commission.
Move approval.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Moved. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. DRP 5.1, DRP 22-09, request by Greg Davis of iPlan Consulting for review and approval of site plan, landscape, photometric, and elevation plans for proposed 200-unit multi-story multifamily development on approximately 12 acres located at the southwest corner of North Porter Road and Iron Point Road, just south of Maricopa Casa Grande Highway in the city of Maricopa. Discussion and action.
Good evening, Chair Huggins, Commissioners. My name is Byron Easton, Senior Planner here for the City of Maricopa, and I'm here to present the Brewers 2209 DRP Major Development Review Permit application here tonight. And there it goes. So this is a request by Greg Davis of iPlan Consulting for that review and approval of site plan, landscape, photometric, and elevation plans for this proposed 200 apartment style unit, multi-story, multi-family development. As you can see from the site map, the vicinity map, this is just south of the Maricopa, West Maricopa Casa Grande Highway and the railroad tracks, south of the Walmart and the commercial development to the north. And this is the the second part 2 of our entitlement process. So you may remember having seen this earlier in the year. We did a GPA and a zoning change for this back in June. Well, for you guys, it would have been May, but it was approved by council June 21st for the zoning, and that was to change the zoning from I believe it was commercial at the time, to a high-density residential, both for the GPA, general plan designation, and for the zoning itself for high-density residential, to prepare for the submittal of this project, okay, for the site plan. The site's about 10 acres. It is vacant. As I said, we're obviously talking about multifamily residential. This is going to be a 2- and 3-story product. About 40 feet will be the maximum height on this product. There's 200 total units. They are requesting the 20% sustainable development reduction for the parking required. More details for that are in the staff report. As required per the zoning code, the site was posted on the property by the applicant. Notification letters were also sent out to the property owners within 600 feet of the subject site. No public comments were received at the time of this report provided to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Staff finds the submittal items to be substantially compliant with the code, and thereby we recommend approval of DRP 2209 subject to the conditions set in the staff report. As for more detail of the site itself, looking at the elevations and things, the applicant would actually like to step forward and present the development presentation as well at this time. Green button right there. Introduce yourself to them.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. I'm Kevin Sturgeon at Roars Companies. Greg was the applicant on our behalf as the developer. He should be coming in shortly. I think he was caught in a little bit of traffic, so might catch the tail end for some questions if needed. So I know we've been here before, back in May, as Byron mentioned, and just want to do a brief introduction to the folks who potentially weren't here at that time of kind of who Roars Companies is, just provide some quick background. We're a full-service development firm based out of Minnesota, doing developments national all over the country. Right now we have about 44 projects and have about 5,500 units completed to date. Everywhere that we go, we kind of have the long-term focus of our developments. We do market rate developments, workforce housing, affordable housing, senior housing, et cetera, and have our own kind of sister property management company, if you will, with the approach of going through that design process with the city and developing properties that, once we get through completion of construction, that we take over management ourselves and kind of run, the processes with that long-term focus. So getting into the project more specifically, as Byron alluded to, the project is off of Porter Road and Iron Point Road. And this is something that has been discussed here over the past few months, but wanted to kind of get into on the right here is the snapshot from the What's New Maricopa page of obviously the development that has been going on here over the last year. We're located where the star is there with Copa Flats to the north there, with several other commercial and multifamily developments in the works, and then the commercial zoning just to the south of us, which is located with that daycare, and then the future employment to the east. So as far as the entitlements go, and I'll get through this quick, this is kind of reiterating what he said, but we were approved for the GPA and PAD that was presented to the commission here in May, and then we were recommended for approval, which we ultimately got from City Council in June. So as far as the development kind of works goes throughout the design process with the city, we've been working closely with city staff over the last several months to work through some revisions that were brought up as potential concerns at neighborhood meeting, just with staff and conversations about some of the initial plans that we brought forward. One was having to do with moving the density in the buildings more east, away from the single-family homes to the west there. We tried to provide a sizable buffer with the one-story garages and landscaping to the west. But one of the initial comments we got were, given that those buildings are 3 stories on the west there, being circled, to kind of shift those to align for more of a better buffer between the homes to the west. So as we did that, we also worked on lowering the building height of 2 of the buildings there through conversations with the city and kind of what the city desired. So to the right is the revised site plan, which kind of shows the integration of these changes, shifting those buildings to the west, kind of to the south, and moving things a little bit east to adhere to kind of what the neighbors' concerns brought up, as well as conversations with city staff. Here's a brief snapshot of the kind of the central amenity area with the fitness center, swimming pool, turf area, dog park, very kind of full service resort style amenities at this proposed development. Here's some of the example elevations. This is the clubhouse. Just some of the notes on the siding material that we've proposed. This is one of the building elevations off of Iron Point Road for the 3-story walk-up style. Here's another one, kind of showing the integrated 2-story on the east. And this is just a side-by-side elevation of that same building. So with that, thanks for the time, and wanted to just provide some more detail on kind of the process we've gone through over the last several months to kind of work through a site plan that works from an efficiency standpoint and the desire of the city. So with that, I will turn it back to you if there's any questions. If not, I'll turn it back to Byron. Thank you.
Thanks. So I just wanted to point out a couple more things before we open up for questions. Just a couple of revisions that were made since you probably saw these elevations last time. We did add some more color, as you can see, to the center and a couple other areas. We added the maroon color just to kind of get away from the strictly desert color palette from the previous iterations of this elevations. In addition, we did some additional screening of the stairwells. If you can see the stairwells there, were open where you could actually see the stairs coming up, so we had them screen those. And then we had them add some additional awnings throughout the elevations to provide some more shade and just some more articulation. And then the third material was also added, kind of the porte-cochere entrance areas. You can kind of see that fiberboard there. So those are just kind of some things that were changed to hopefully make it more attractive product for this final iteration of the elevations. You guys have any questions at this time?
Let me go ahead and pull the speaker card up first. Mr. Nate Wong, did you get all your questions answered, or do you have more concerns you'd like to address?
I had concerns just about emergency services.
Okay, come on up. Please state your name and address for the records, please. All the way up here where he was standing. He'll move for you.
No, my name is Nate Wong. I live at 16721 North Luna Drive. It's just at the very end where on the south part of those drawings where that southern wall is. It goes 2 feet into my backyard. I work out of town during the summer. I'm an educator. So I would have loved to have been part of those things. I'm sorry for not getting back. And I appreciate the improvements that the applicant has made to try to mitigate some of these already. But anybody that lives in Santa Rosa Springs knows that the biggest pitfall of living there is access to emergency services. I mean, I have an 8-month-old baby. He's my first. And when my wife and I were going through pregnancy, I mean, that was the major concern on my mind. As a school administrator, safety is paramount. So my biggest concerns that weren't addressed at all in here, and as a person that's lived in this town, I was the third owner on Luna, on that street, by the way, is always going to be the emergency concerns. And so I think there's 200 units in there. It looked like the breakdown was like 46% 3-bedroom, 46% 2-bedroom. So we have very few 1-bedrooms. So if I'm doing the math a little bit, that's a lot of people, which actually increases a lot for exposure for emergency calls and things like that. I appreciate everything that our forward-looking city has done to try to mitigate how fast things can get out of control when we grow. The additions going east and west on Maricopa Grand Highway has been awesome. The bridge going up on Porter Road over the ravine is great. So those changes are great, but it still doesn't take away the fact of that train. And if you really need to get services back there and what can happen. And so I know there's a fire department on the backside of Altera over there, but then there's that one on Porter, and to think that the closest fire truck might struggle to get there. And it's not a joke, but for Maricopa folks who've been here for a minute, I mean, Greg should have left really early. There is a lot of traffic, and that's not going to change either. So those things, and as an administrator, I know that the stress of the schools have, and so just making sure that as community leaders we can plan effectively for that, but safety has been my concern. Obviously the other issues go without saying, but as far as construction nuisance to the baby, but it's always going to be safety for me and the safety and security of our citizens. So but those were not addressed. So that's all. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead and go out onto the internet first. Commissioner LaFalle, any questions?
No questions.
Vice Chair Sharp?
I just wanted to applaud for working closely staff to make some of those changes. You know, when we originally saw this, some of the issues that were brought to the community in regard to buildings along the fact they were able to go back to the drawing board and make those changes, in my opinion, shows that the applicant is really trying. I like the changes in the elevations that were made. They really break up kind of the monotony, that sight line. I think that was another thing where you're working closely with city staff, and it really shows. One of the things I also wanted to highlight was that you guys were obviously listening. When I was mentioning things about EV parking, you guys definitely put those in. But I do have a question about the garages, and it has to do with, are those electrified in a way where it could allow EV charging as well? Or have you
Chair Huggins, Vice Chair Sharp, I'm bringing the applicant up to answer those questions. I believe I recall that the EV requirement is being made through actual EV charging stations. I'm not sure if the garages themselves are going to be pre-wired or not. I'll let the applicant speak to that.
Yeah, and while the applicant is on his way to the microphone, I mean, I was just trying to help you guys get a double count, right? You've got open spaces that are kind of open to anyone who has an electric vehicle that's close to the building, but, you know, as an added incentive, if someone brings for a garage, you know, maybe that's one of those added benefits as well.
Yeah, again, this is Kevin Sturgeon from Roars Companies. Thanks for the context there. From our perspective, that's something that we're still working through. As Byron mentioned, we do have our own EV charging stations that we have set, but they are not specified to the garages. But it's something that we can work through and see kind of what makes sense as we work through the final processes here.
Yeah, I'm certainly. I would never put a stipulation on it. It was just more of an idea to say, hey, this is just yet another perk, because I know if I've got an $80,000 Tesla, I wouldn't want to park it outside, and if you had it in a garage, that'd be real nice. So, just something to consider.
And then Vice Chair Sharp, in the past, we have worked with applicants as well to lessen the electric vehicle actual designated parking in lieu of providing the wiring in garages. So if the applicant and staff were to think that's a better option, the precedent has been set before for us to provide that wiring in lieu of the parking spaces outside.
That seems like a fair exchange. Thanks for that. Aside from that, I don't want to overstate it, but just the collaboration between the applicant and city staff really shows that they were listening to the concerns of the community, and they're going to be the community partner. So this is a great project. I want to see it continue. Thanks.
I'm sorry.
That is all for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoakum.
Looking at what we have here, I see that there's one way in and out, but it's 2 lanes. Am I correct?
There's 2 points of access. So there's the access off of Iron Point Road, and then there's an access off of Porter Road.
Answers that question. Okay. I like the concept that you've introduced here, and that is where we have the 3-story buildings going to 2-story. I think it breaks things up, and it gives it a much more attractive appearance. Parking, you're taking advantage of the offset that you get for doing some other things in place of the parking spaces that are not there, the ones that are required by the code. That's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Irving.
Thank you, Commissioner Yoakum.
Yeah, a couple issues. One, I look at your response dealing with traffic, and could someone speak to, there's going to be a lot going on in that area with the expansion. He mentioned some. I also have a concern, is that, and we've fallen in this rabbit hole before by saying it's adequate, and then we get beat up because it's not adequate. Could someone speak to, has anybody thought about not only emergency vehicles, but they also have thought about, with all the construction that's going to be going on in that whole area, if there's sort of a long-term plan to assure people that that we're proactive, not reactive?
So, beginning with the, Commissioner Irving, beginning with the rezone and GPA process, we started looking at this, and I believe we spoke in great detail about the plans for the east-west corridor.
Yeah.
And also the fact that the use of the commercial use that was planned for this site was going to create much more traffic than this proposed site. With that said, the engineering department did require a traffic impact statement, and basically it's in the staff report, that the section from them about traffic, and that it was found to be acceptable level of service, both AM and PM hours, for all the required traffic scenarios. So it was studied and it was signed off by our staff, using that study as a guide.
And that's fine. I just want to make sure that we have it in the record that you did study. My other question is over on page 5 of your report, and I'll read it. The notable surplus of community open space also justifies our request to reduce the 100 square foot code requirement for private patios to 80. It's a 30% reduction. The code 120 square feet requirement is arduous and difficult to meet. Is it or
What
not?
number? I'm sorry, what?
Page 5, about the third paragraph down. I guess my concern, it seems like you're asking us, or they're asking us, for a waiver on our own code requirement. If I'm reading it right.
I do not see that on page 5.
In the book they gave me, I don't know.
It's above the paragraph that starts with architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, I said 5.
Page 5. Page 5.
It's in this report that says Roars Maricopa Development Review Permit Project, and it's the 5th page.
Okay, I'm on.
Somebody had to give it to us.
I'm having trouble here seeing this. So it's not in the what section? I'm sorry, because under criteria for approval, what's the section heading?
It's under open space and pedestrian connectivity. It's the last paragraph before architecture.
Madam Chair, if I might, Byron, it's in the packet that was submitted by the applicant.
Oh.
It's in the project narrative. It's in the project narrative.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at the staff report, so that's what I have up here. Sorry about that.
I just read stuff you give us to read.
Part of our package.
Okay, so it's part of the narrative. I don't have that narrative in front of me right now, so I'm sorry. Could you maybe just repeat the question one more time?
Basically,
Want a copy of it?
That's fine.
Basically, what it says is we have a code requirement on the first floor of 120 square feet.
Correct.
They say that's too arduous to meet.
Correct.
They're asking for a 30% reduction of that down to 80.
Correct.
I guess I'm asking.
Yes.
So we're asking to waive our own code.
Well, it's not a waiver of the code. It's a more of a balancing. So they provided more open space in the development for shared open space to offset that requirement, which we believe is also a bit more than other jurisdictions, and we are looking at that code as something that's going to be probably up for a text amendment in the next cycle. So compared to other jurisdictions, it's a very, very high amount for especially for workforce style housing. So we did work with the applicant to, as long as they provided more public open space and more amenity area, then we were willing to grant them a little bit of leeway with the
30%
requirement. 30%.
I guess my point is, why would somebody put in their narrative that our code is too hard to meet? I understand what they're saying. It just, to me, puts me as a commissioner in a spot that's saying you're asking me to reduce and not apply our own code by over 30% because it's too hard to meet. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, if you guys, Commissioner Irvin, if you feel that number is too high, then
I have no idea about the number. I'm just responding to what I feel my responsibility is just to read it. That's all.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Irving, I would just add to that, the multifamily development is new to Maricopa. And so we've created a set of standards that we're constantly looking at. And as we deal with different developers coming through, we're starting to see a consistency with respect to this specific requirement. And as we're going through these code amendments and we're cleaning it up, trying to make it better, this is a perfect example of research we need to do to find out, really, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what is too much and what is not enough. And this specific requirement right now is something that we were looking at. We were just talking about it earlier today, internal-wise. So we support, at this point, kind of a this for that. So if we're going to reduce this, then we need to expand that. So it's not a complete reduction of it, but we are looking at this, and we're looking to come up with a number that makes sense across the board, a starting point with future development moving forward.
I'm going to interject here because I do have a question on this. If I'm reading this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. I'm reading this that the first floor will be at 80 square feet, but the second and third floor patio areas would be at 120. Is that correct?
That's not correct. We have a reduction. As the floors go up, there's a reduction in the required outdoor living areas.
Says we were able to provide 80 square feet, which is 30 square feet more than the second and third floors.
Correct. So I think maybe then they're saying 80 is more than what's required for the second floor. That's how I would read that. Right, correct. The patios get smaller, and and this is one of these things where in other municipalities it's actually the opposite. So they have a requirement that the patios be larger on the upper floors and they taper down. So this is one of these things that we need to work as a city as.
And I understand. I guess I'm just making the point that when someone puts in our packet, it's just the wording. I just, to me, it's important that we at least note it. I have no problem. I understand the intent, but the wording basically says, don't follow their code because it's too hard to meet. That's all. I understand the intent, but when I read it, that's what we're up here to do, is to read into question.
Thank you.
Now you got me thinking. So with our attorney sitting here, I guess it would be a good question to ask. If our code states that, as the narrative says it's less than that, are we still covered because it's part of the submittal, or should we put it as a stipulation?
It's included as part of the packet.
Okay, so we don't have to add the stipulation
Correct.
then? Okay. I just want to make sure we're covered in that respect, because I have no issue with it, because, a lot of times apartments don't even have patios, so, I'm okay with all of that. I just want to make sure that the city of Maricopa is covered on this.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have to add an extra stipulation to that. That's all I got. Great, all right. Commissioner Frank.
So yeah, I too am hung up a little bit on this patio thing. So what makes it arduous exactly? Is it arduous in the mind of the city, or is it arduous in the mind of the developer? And I'm just trying to get an idea of why we're asking for this. I understand you had an open space increase, so you are asking to offset it here, but.
Madam Chair and members of the Commission, for the record, my name is Greg Davis with iPlan Consulting here on behalf of Roars Companies. And we always, anytime we deviate from what a city's standard is, we try to put it in the narrative. We don't like to play games. We want to be upfront and honest about everything we're doing. That's why it's in there. And the discussion that we've had, not only with this project, but the other multifamily projects that I've represented over the last few months, this issue's come up on every one of them. It's mostly because when a multi-story multifamily building is built, it's built, basically layer on layer on layer. So all the layers are the same. And the city of Maricopa is unique in that the ground floor amount of patio area is different than every other jurisdiction and the other floors. So it's very difficult to design one floor one way and the other floor is a different way. It's just not very efficient, and it becomes very difficult and cost ineffective for the project. So as we were talking with the staff, they agreed that that's something that they needed to look at. Did it make sense, et cetera? We shared what we've done in other communities throughout Phoenix as well as other places in the country. And then we kind of compromised on, we understand the intent is to provide outdoor space. Well, what if we were to do it in a manner that is more for everybody? And so we increased the overall community open space and active areas and amount of amenities to offset that. And that's the proposal that we had in the other projects, and that's the proposal that we have before you tonight.
So it seems like it would be rather easy to just increase the patio space on the first floor. I get why they might be more difficult going up. So what is it? Is it 10 by 12? Is it, what are the typical dimensions if it were to be 120?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, so yeah, it depends on every building, of course, but usually you try to have an 8 by 10 minimum space on the ground floor, then move up from there. So 120 square feet would require us to extend the concrete pad, significantly away from the building It wouldn't be under the cover. It would go into the community open space area, affect the drainage, et cetera. So that's the reason why they don't do it in a regular basis. Can it be done? Absolutely. It can be done. But since staff was already looking at, is this an appropriate standard? And we looked at what's done elsewhere and what the city's approved in other situations. This proposal is what made the most sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like you try to offset by having the amenities and all that, and I get that. But if I was on the first floor, I sure would like to have extra patio space. I'd kind of see that as an amenity where I wouldn't have to get out necessarily in the general population there. But I don't know. It doesn't set well with me. I'd kind of like to see it kept at the 120 at least for the first floor. Or maybe it's dependent on the number of bedrooms too. Maybe the larger, nicer, larger apartments have an extra patio space, to kind of go along with it, because you got a bigger family. Okay, now you can get more people setting out on the patio. If it's just a studio apartment, okay, maybe the 80 makes sense. So I'm just wondering if there's some way of looking at it like that, where it's scaled to the kind of unit.
Madam Chair and Commissioner, every unit on top of each other is the same square footage, and the bottom square footage is bigger. It is 80 square feet versus the 50 square feet, so they are getting extra space because maybe they don't have a view. They're at the ground floor level. But as far as someone's moving in, desire for a larger patio space, that is their option, and it's a rental facility, so there's a lot of different options if they're not happy with that patio space. But I understand what you're saying. It's just from a development standpoint, it causes a lot of issues. And since the city, looked at it and agreed that this was a fair compromise at the staff level and the precedent of the other projects, it just went forward as is. It is something I think the city definitely could look at as projects come forward, look at what is the appropriate space for a ground level unit and why should that be more or less than other other levels of that facility. It's a fair comment.
Else for the list.
This added to the list.
Okay, no other comment.
All right.
At least. We're going to get our least after you. Mr. Robertson.
First of all, thank you, Byron, and the applicant for your presentation and answering our questions. It kind of does make sense, Dan, that, if you got a larger family, you want a little larger space, but I'm going to leave that decision up to the applicant, because the market's going to drive whether they made a good decision or not. Either they fill those apartments and rent them or they don't. If people want to back away because they want a bigger apartment, that'll be market driven. So I'm not really hung up on that. I see that in the package it talks about 2 lanes coming in and out off of Porter into the complex, and it's gated. What is I can't tell, and I couldn't find it anywhere, what the setback from the road will be the gate. In other words, we don't want cars piling up on Porter waiting for the gate to open. So what is the actual setback of the gate within the entrance?
Madam Chair and Commissioner, the gates are actually quite a bit in. You actually have to come all the way into the facility and turn to the north or the south to hit those gates. So it's, I would say, 120 to 150 feet.
So it's the interior side of that main entrance?
Correct. So that one, so people can come in that don't live in the facility, go all the way to the main office, going to the, et cetera. So quite a bit of stacking if that's your concern.
Definitely don't want cars piling up out there on Porter.
Commissioner Robinson, you can actually see it on the slide that's right here. See the word gate on each side at the end of the paved area? Where it goes from kind of pinkish to gray.
Yeah, I see the area, I just didn't know how deep it was or where it was located. Okay, and I also see the keypads. The keypad is going to require someone to stop and punch in a code? Will they use a transponder?
Chairwoman and Commissioner, they'll usually have both. They'll have a keypad number as a backup, but usually they'll either have a little sticker that they put on their mirror or the bumper, or potentially a little button press.
My question leads to emergency services. Being able to get quick access, not have to get out and punch in a number.
Yeah, I believe the city requires that we have strobe intercept for entrance emergency vehicles on both points of access.
Knox boxes. No? Okay, good. Well, everybody's kind of hit on the things that I had. I do want to commend solar lighting, because that was one of my pet peeves on the last submittal. And I do want to commend you for the nice screening and the color improvements. That was a great addition to that. I did want to just kind of address, and I think, Byron, you did do that just to answer our constituents' issues with emergency personnel. There is 2 exits and entrances necessary for first responders. That was one of the things that we talked about when we were looking at doing this the last time. And also the fact that the east-west corridor will actually help alleviate a lot of the traffic, so it won't get backed up. So when they come and go, they won't have to worry about traffic and stuff like that. This project, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you said it was at least 2 years on complete build out and everything?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, was it a question of timing of development?
Yes.
Yeah, I think most of this year, the rest of this year and first part of next year will be all, construction document level and then construction would start after that. So a year from now would be very, very wishful thinking.
Right, and I think we discussed during that phase was that the construction personnel would be coming in from the south end instead of off of Casa Grande Highway, correct?
That is the intent. Yeah.
So I hope that helps answer your questions.
It's just a train. It's the
Train? We can't do anything about that train.
I was talking about
We'd love to be able to do, never mind. So that takes care of it. And the only other thing that I wanted to bring up was kind of what everybody's already talked about with the patio area. I get it. I mean, apartment complexes have some and they don't have some, and you choose to pick and choose where you're going to live and where you're going to rent. I tend to agree with what they were talking about with the higher end areas. You'd want more, but you have given some give and take on the open spaces, and I'm going to assure that based on what I've seen that the grounds are going to be nice to where people would want to go out there and live in that. So commend you for all of that. I think I'm done, but I think Vice Chair Sharp has some extra comments that he would like to make. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's right in line with the patio. I didn't want to jump in because I know I'm on a delay with the conversation that was being had about the patio. I want to clarify something just to make sure that I understand it. You're providing an additional 6,400 square feet of open space in addition to what is required. Am I reading that part?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's the exchange. And broadly speaking, that's a pretty fair exchange considering once you summarize or once you total the 4,200 square feet you lose across the entire community, more open space. I like that. And one of the things that is important is the drainage issue. Anytime you have exposed, uncovered concrete that can't get to the ground, you get additional runoff. It just creates more problem. I'm dealing with it now. So when he said that really stuck with me to say, yeah, you want as much of that concrete undercover as possible to mitigate any drainage. So I am fully in support of shrinking it to keep it consistent with the rest of the building envelope.
to make a comment. My issue is not with the size of the patio. My issue isn't that at all. All I want is simply for the city and staff to recommend to us that they do what you said. That takes us off the hook. So the other is immaterial, but you know, I just don't want to sit here and say without city recommending to us that you agree with this, you agree with the concession, and you're recommending to us that at this point we do it. That's all I want. Not arguing about patios, just simply, if you say we should do it, I'm all for it, I trust you. That's not here. That's all I was asking for to begin with, not all the other stuff, which I would like to hear from one of you, that you do agree with this.
Chair Huggins and Commissioner Irving, staff does recommend approval of DRP 2209 Rowers Multifamily in all exhibits and submittals.
I think that your comments, to be honest, Irving, just kind of opened up a different. Thank you for bringing that up because it did bring up other things. So thank you for that. This is discussion and action. Commissioner Yoakum?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve DRP 2209.
Second.
Second.
I do have a motion. I do have a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Commissioner Sharp, is that an aye?
Yes, that was fine.
Brittany's looking at me like, huh? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it, guys. All right. 5.2, GAP 22-08, public hearing, a request by Stewart and Rendon Missa, excuse me if I said that wrong, architecture on behalf of Construction Solutions Company for a minor general plan amendment on approximately 10.17 acres, effectively changing the land use designation from employment E to high density residential HDR. The site is generally located on the southeast corner of West Edison Road and North Estrella Parkway. Discussion and action.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm Alex Bosworth, Assistant Planner here with the City of Maricopa. And tonight we have cases GPA 2208 and ZON 2205 for Villas at the Gin. This request, Madam Chair and Commissioners, is by Stewart and Rendersma Architecture on behalf of Construction Solutions Company for the review and approval of a minor general plan amendment as well as a concurrent zoning map amendment rezone for a proposed multifamily residential development. As per the site in question, as you can see in these slides, the site is about 10 acres. It's on currently vacant land south of Edison Road, just east of Estrella Parkway, south of the Estrella Business Park, adjacent to the Heritage Mixed Use District with tracks to the south of it. The current general plan land use is employment, and the current existing zoning is light industrial. The applicant is proposing a high-density residential general plan land use, as well as a high-density residential proposed zoning. As you can see for visual, on the left on the screen, we see the existing zoning, light industrial, and on the right is the proposed zoning, which will be high-density residential. And as well as in the general plan, on the left-hand side, we see the existing designation of employment with the proposed designation of high-density residential. And just for some context, as per the proposal, here's a conceptual site plan. Again, this is conceptual. Just for some context, as per the scope of the proposal, this may be subject to some change. As you can see, you have a multifamily development with multiple buildings, associated parking, and some green space. Edison Road will have one access point as proposed in a conceptual site plan, as well as on Estrella Parkway and Garvey Avenue to the south. And again, for additional context, we have some conceptual elevations. So this site currently, as proposed, is about 195 units. Again, subject to some change. About 20 dwelling units per acre, which is within the allowed density for a high-density residential proposed zoning. And as per the city's housing plan goal, the city has identified that in the housing inventory, approximately 25% of the housing should be multifamily. Currently, we have 70,000 single-family entitled units, with about 24,000 of those complete. And on the multifamily side, approximately we have 2,300 entitled units, with over 600 units complete. So therefore, in order for a multifamily to reach 25%, the number of completed units should be 6,253 for multifamily. And we currently have about 2,100, including the most recent approvals by the Commission and Council. This request fulfills the various criteria as stated in the zoning code, and staff have analyzed and determined that these are being met. As per the required public comments, the applicant has fulfilled all of their notification requirements, including notification letters, sign postings, a newspaper notice in the Casa Grande Dispatch, and a neighborhood meeting on August 22nd. As of this time, no public comments have been received by the Planning and Zoning Division. And in Exhibit F, you can see a public participation report. Therefore, staff finds that GPA 2208 and ZON 2205 for villas at the Gin is compliant with the standards set forth in the zoning code, and therefore we recommend approval of these cases. And that is it for my presentation, and I'll leave it up for any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Keep in mind that we are not reviewing the plat or any design concept. This is just basically for the zoning of this, so that will come at the next time when we come up on that. So if you have any comments, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at 6:50. Approach the podium. Seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. All right, let's go ahead and we do both at the same time. Trying.
Madam Chair, it is agendized as two different agenda items and two different public hearings, so we'll start with the GPA.
You guys got to learn to put them together. Oh, but at least we can bypass the second presentation. All right, on the rezone, let's start out on the internet as usual. Commissioner LaFalle?
I don't really have any questions. I do have a comment. And it is that I'm hearing an echo. I apologize. I don't know why there's an echo. I don't have any. I don't want to hear that echo.
All right, no problem. Commissioner Sharp.
I don't have any specific questions. My biggest comment is if the applicant is present, just to kind of take some notes from the last submittal during the DRP process and working hand in glove with city staff. I think the planning department has a really good handle now that we've seen a few of these multifamily submittals on what it is we're looking for as a again, even though it was a part of this submittal and we're not on time, we could really kind of pay attention to the design. If they're, broadly speaking, I think this is the location to have multifamily. It's not a multifamily corridor. It's in another part of the city. I would definitely like to see this land used in a more productive way. So this is a good first step. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yocum.
Okay. We are looking at a minor general plan amendment, and that means that we're looking at what would we consider to be a better or the best or an alternative use.
Commissioner Sharp, can you mute yourself? Thank you.
And it's right now we're looking at it being employment and going to high density. And the city, through various discussions, also a home building study we did back in 2018, I believe, or 2017, We identified deficiencies in the levels of alternative housing, which we do need, and that's what this amendment is going to bring to us. It's going to take employment into high density. So I am all for it.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Frank?
No questions.
Commissioner Robinson?
No questions.
That was easy. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to make I just wanted to make a comment that I heard on the news this morning that the entire metropolitan area is deficient on multifamily residential housing as well. So, I mean, at least we're moving in the right direction. So, thank you for that. All right, this is discussion and action. Take the action.
Second.
Thank you. I do have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Commissioner Sharp?
Aye.
So moved. All right, 5.3, ZON 22-05, public hearing, a request by Stewart and Rendemza Architect on behalf of Construction Solutions Company to rezone approximately 10.17 acres from the light industrial zoning district to the high density residential RH zoning district. The site is generally located on the southeast corner of West Edison Road and North Estrella Parkway. Discussion and action. I don't know if we need to go through that all over again, guys. Do you? Okay, good. Any comments? I'll start out there on the internet. Commissioner Sharp. Oh, yeah, I have to open up the public hearing. Thank you. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:55. Please approach the podium if you would like to speak. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. All right, let's try that again. Commissioner Sharp, anything?
Can you hear me? No questions.
Now we got you. Thank you. Commissioner LaFall.
No question.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoakum?
Just a parallel analysis that going from light industrial to high density is where I think that's where we want to go with this piece of land.
Thank you. Commissioner Irving?
No questions.
Commissioner Frank?
No questions.
Commissioner Robertson?
No questions.
None for me. With that being said, I'll take an action.
Move approval of 2205.
Second.
All right. We do have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So moved. All right. Number 6, report from commission and or staff.
Move
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
He said you're done. We're at
I'm just joking.
We're joking.
That's quite all right.
We don't want to go out in the stormy weather right now.
Just wanted to touch on a couple of things. We've talked pretty much every meeting here on out about putting together some kind of group meeting for.
Getting smart and getting ahead of me, aren't you?
Yeah. So just want to let you know that we're meeting on Thursday internally, not only to set a day but work out the agenda for it. So I hope when we come back on the 26th, I'll be able to share that date with you, and we can move forward on that. Secondly, just want to make you aware we are converting the Planning and Zoning Commission to the Legistar case management system. So we're in the process of kind of having a dry run with the agenda coming up for the 26th meeting. The only real difference is it's going to look a little different in the email that comes to you, but it's going to be generated through the same system that the City Council uses for that agenda. And more than anything, what it does is it puts us in control of our agenda. It takes less hands off of it, so when we put it in, it's what we put it in, and hopefully that'll eliminate some of the inaccuracies that we've had in the past. Plus, it's much more efficient way to get it to y'all and get it through our system. So keep an eye out for that. Also want to just give you an update. We're still working through on our code updates. We have about 30 revisions that we are currently working on in the system. We hope to have that coming to you probably December, no later than January, for a study session on that. I think that's really exciting because you're going to see a lot of things we've talked about over the last year that may be reflected in that, and changes we're suggesting we make to our toolbox that helps us manage these cases moving forward. Big agendas coming in the next two meetings, 4 and 5, and just we're trying to go to one meeting in November and December. So just to kind of give you a heads up there. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you very much. That's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you. Our attorney friend is shaking his head no. So with that being said, can I have a motion to adjourn at 6:59?
So moved.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming. We might be one.
With unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the